are you doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Either you are, or I'll be skipping rope with your entrails. Ta-ta.
This is the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, your source for lore and so much more. Adventurers, welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. You've got me, Tom, and Lotus, and this week is going to be a little bit different because, well, the plan was to talk more about the lore iceberg stuff that we've been going through because that's so much fun, and we've been getting weirder and weirder as the weeks go by.
Yeah.
But this week is full of news, and it's very pressing. In fact, as soon as we're done recording this, I'm going to edit this episode together and then just put it up early for everybody, instead of waiting for the normal time, which is like after the weekend, because by then the news will be absolutely old. Plus, this is Thursday night as we record this, and some more details have come out. And you might be wondering, what are we even talking about if you've been just kind of out of the loop lately? There have been huge layoffs across Xbox by Microsoft. And of course, Microsoft, Xbox own the Bethesda ZeniMax brand of studios.
Bethesda brand and ZeniMax, yep.
Yep, and they've decided that it is time to clean house, to get rid of some redundancies and to make some changes as to the focus of those studios, which is absolutely going to have an effect on the future of Elder Scrolls. So Lotus and I are here to talk about the facts. We're going to go through the info. There's a lot of takes online, some good ones, some bad ones. There's a lot of people who have just kind of thrown information out there without any foundation for that information. So we want to make it very clear what things are facts. And then we're going to expand our thoughts about those facts and where they might lead. But of course, that part is subjective. So take that or leave that and have your own opinions as you want. But we're going to share some insights from our experiences in the business world and across video games, and having talked about video games for so many years now and all of that. So Lotus, are you ready to dig in? This is the other thing I really want to preface here is that you and I were talking in the pre-show about how nothing is ever black and white. This is mostly bad news, but it might also be good news in some cases. So we just have to take things as they are. But anyway, you ready to talk about it?
Yeah, we might as well dive into this because it is a very unpleasant situation that has transpired. Yet again, it's becoming a yearly tradition for Microsoft to get rid of most of their staff.
Over and over again, it seems.
Oh, it's just over and over again. And the video game industry in general is in a rough spot. And this is just more of it. So, just in general, with our other show, Tales of Tamriel, I did kind of preface, it's like, this is a bit of a downer topic because a lot of people have newfound struggles to deal with in their actual lives as a result of this. So this is not a happy topic. So just be forewarned, it's not the best of news, but again, it's not necessarily like there wasn't reasons to adjustments. It's just, we're going to delve into the probably ways that things could have been handled much better than they were. Because last time this happened, let's just say last time this happened and a bunch of people lost their jobs, the industry was worse for it. So there's really not a lot of reason to believe that this wasn't yet another blunder. Yeah,
and we have our theories, and I have opinions about all of it. Of course, we'll get into the details. Also,
we'll get into that stuff after we discuss some of the facts.
Right, and if you are wondering what this means for Fallout, I already talked about that on the most recent Fallout Lorecast episode that went up just yesterday. So if you're looking for my perspective on that and maybe how Obsidian will be making a new Fallout game, what that might be and how that might work, you can go listen to that on the Fallout Lorecast. But we're talking more about the general thing and then specifics to Elder Scrolls on this episode. So let's get into it, Lotus. And before we get into the facts, I know we've had multiple prefaces here, but our hearts go out to all of the staff that have been let go and the staff who are left behind with graveyards of like empty seats at their office locations and all of that.
And unfortunately, the uncertainty of not even knowing if they actually are safe because Microsoft isn't done, which we'll be getting into.
We'll get into, but I just want to, if you are somebody who knows these people or are these people, because Lotus and I have met and hung out with these people over the years.
I consider a lot of these people like actual friends at this point because of just like so many times that we've had fun times together, business related or not. It's just been a pleasure getting to know so many of them. So I hate seeing this.
Yes. So our support to all of you. We hope that you and your families are doing well, and that you will land on your feet, and that you will have better opportunities in the future, no matter how terrible it feels right now. So that said, that what actually happened? Well, Xbox is cutting 3,200 jobs this year. That's 20% of the Xbox organization. That includes all of the dev companies and all of the design and all of the everybody, marketing, HR, all of the groups who are underneath them, including all of the studios, and that includes a lot of people at ZeniMax and Bethesda and their studios and all of that. But they only cut 1,600 jobs this Monday, just a few days ago from us currently recording this. That means that there are another 1,600 jobs that have yet to be determined for those people to be let go sometime in the next 12 months, probably within the business year, would be my guess.
Yeah.
And that is an important distinction here because of the way corporate business works. And if you haven't been in corporate business, you might wonder, okay, well, why would they announce 1,600 jobs that have yet to be let go? There's a reason why corporations do this. It's because they're building uncertainty on purpose, which means the people who are left are going to have to look for new jobs because they might be worried that they will otherwise be fired. But the thing is, if they do the smart thing and they find another job and they change jobs, then Microsoft doesn't have to pay severance. So they don't actually have to let those people go if they choose to go on their own, which has already been happening. They've already been doing that among a certain percentage of the population who have decided to either retire or move on to somewhere else or to take a severance package ahead of time. So it's fairly complex when you get into all the minutia, but there is a reason this feels uncomfortable for the employees. It's like that by design. That's just the way corporations do things.
To make it uncomfortable in hopes that they choose to leave.
Yes. Now, why would they make this decision outside of just cutting costs? Well, Asha, the new president of Xbox, who has a very interesting track record, which we'll go over in a little bit, decided that 14 levels of management is too many. She's right. And this is where things aren't black and white. She's right about that. Yep. Running a game development business with 14 layers of management is insane. I mean, the jokes about middle management go back a long time, to like movies like Office Space and stuff like that, right? But It's true. A lot of middle managers are just kind of stepping stones to the people who actually make the real decisions. And so she was saying that there should be 5 max and 3 optimally where possible, which I don't disagree with. What do you think?
No, I think that's they have overexpanded in many ways for projects, which is 100% true.
Yeah, both the studios before Microsoft owned them and some of the internal studios that were already Microsoft properties. This is a problem on both sides.
This is not a Bethesda Game Studios thing specifically. This is a Microsoft and all owned subsidiaries. This is just a universal thing at Microsoft. Microsoft Gaming / Xbox, whatever you want to call it.
Right. We'll just call it Xbox. But yeah. So too many layers of management, which is a problem that needs to be fixed. That should have been fixed years ago, but it wasn't. This is going to be a recurring theme of should have been fixed years ago, but wasn't. Also, there's too much redundancy in positions. This happens all the time in the game industry when a big company buys a bunch of studios, as they start to realize that the balance that worked for that one studio with the number of people who work in HR or work in design or writing or any of those things doesn't actually work out when you have multiple studios who can work together. You end up with too many people in certain positions. Again, should have been something that was solved, but probably couldn't have been something until you had all of those studios under one umbrella. But as we'll discuss, there might be ways of saving that as opposed to firing large swaths of employees.
Yes, I was going to say, that being said, there is I feel a substantially better way to not lose this talent, because most of the people at least that I know of, that have been promoted along the way for various reasons, it's because they were meant to oversee other people rather than do the design necessarily themselves.
Mhm.
An example of this would be, we'll just use Elder Scrolls Online. Mike Finnegan, who unfortunately is no longer at ZeniMax, started as a dungeon designer, then became like a lead encounter designer, and then became like the manager of that whole team. And it's like, well, it's because he was so good at what he did and has always mentioned, well, I'm just one part of the team.
Right.
But the encounter design is something that Elder Scrolls Online is actually sort of known for in the MMO space because it's so creative and stuff like that. So they had his design going in and maybe a little less hands-on.
Right.
The problem comes from, okay, well, now he's kind of been bumped into a managerial position, which, okay, if we're trying to cut out some of these middle managing things, the solution seems weird to eliminate the person from the company that was promoted due to how good he was at the role.
Right. And also has the institutional knowledge of how the systems work, why they work the way they did, how the code works, why it works the way it does, how to be most efficient with their tools, all how to train their staff. That institutional knowledge. Yeah. Now, yes, he was promoted to a high level. He probably makes more than the average person at his position because he was that valuable. I would assume, because you would hope that he got paid well.
Yeah, if he's getting
for what
promoted,
he did.
You'd think it would come with a monetary promotion as well.
Exactly. And so that's why people like that are targeted, is because on a spreadsheet, they cost a lot of money without any consideration. In some cases, we don't work for Microsoft, but in some cases when this happens, with very little consideration for the actual on the ground institutional knowledge and what they're really bringing to the table. They're looking at numbers here, right?
Yes. So, in this situation, rather than find maybe a new role and position to which they can still utilize his knowledge and skill set, to your point, to cut the bottom line, which is generally all you're looking at in these regards, the solution that they came up with was, well, okay, we just remove this person from the equation.
Right.
But as a result, the team is weaker because they just lost one of their best people who has worked their way up because they're so good at their roles. So great, you saved a few pennies on the dollar at the expense of your creativity, and design knowledge taking a massive hit as well. So
and that becomes a problem, especially in the long term, with creating good products and all of that, which we'll get to more. And to summarize some of what you're saying and kind of put it in an even bigger context, oftentimes when something like this happens, the president of the company, in this case, the section of the company that is Microsoft Gaming, is not looking and interviewing all of these people, her or himself. They're tasking somebody else underneath them with making the cuts that are needed financially. And if that's the case, then they're going to look at people who get paid significantly more than the average for the role they're in, because that's where they can save the most money, which means that they're cutting a lot of veteran staff, not just management, not just redundant positions, but veteran staff. And the problem with that is, if they only cut veteran staff, then there can be legal issues with them specifically targeting certain people because they were doing too good of a job. Right?
You're literally being eliminated because you're too good at your job.
Right. So the other piece of this is that you'll see on the lists of people who have been let go that they are staff who had been there a long time. Gina is another one from Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, I was going to say she was in her 19th year. She actually started, I believe she was the second or third person on the project. Like, it was 2 weeks into the project's foundation, she was brought on. So
and has gotten multiple pay raises and
and
promotions.
Manages tons of different things, including our creator team that we're part of.
Yep. So these people are established. They make too much, so they have to go. But then you will see other people who had been there for a year or less than a year or just a year or two, and they let some of those people go. That makes sense for redundancies, but it also saves them from somebody like a union, like the Bethesda union, saying you are specifically targeting these people, and they can say, well, no, look, we made cuts across.
Look, we eliminated these people we just hired too.
Right. So That's part of where that goes. But let's get back to the why. What are the justifications they gave? And one of the justifications was that they need to focus more on the games and the IPs that are most important to Xbox. But in the statements that came out from Xbox and Microsoft, they didn't specifically say which titles those were. We can make assumptions. We can assume that it's Fallout and Elder Scrolls and Halo and some of these other big games.
And Aja has mentioned in general pushing forward some of their most known IP, in which she's mentioned Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Halo specifically.
Right. But one of the things that went around on the internet was people were then also adding in Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake, which are id Software Machine Games. They're part of the Bethesda umbrella. They have been for a long time. But she did not say that. And this is going to play into this a little bit later.
Exactly. I was going to say that those extras were kind of added, and somebody who won't shut up about Quake, trust me, Quake is not a flagship franchise that they care about.
Not anymore. Yeah, it's been a long time.
I've been long wanting Quake Champions, is definitive proof that they couldn't get out of their own way to even decide what to do with Quake, which I thought Quake Champions was all right. It would have done better with some more support. And instead it was just kind of like a bungled mess. So it is what it is.
Right. So that's why you're going to see big layoffs in that side of the company and that studio as well, is, in my estimation, it's because they're not planning to continue working on Quake. They're planning to divide up the remainders of those studios and have them work on more Elder Scrolls or Fallout or whatever, which are more profitable for the company. But that's just speculation on my side.
Sure. And one thing that is worth noting is that I forget which patch of Fallout 76 it was, but when the gunplay got its overhaul, it was with the help of id Tech. Id came over and helped improve the gunplay, and it was a notable improvement in how the gunplay in Fallout 76 felt because they had help from the id team. So it's like, cool, now we don't have our own project, we have your project.
Right. So Obsidian also are staying with Microsoft. They're not selling them off, but they've been told that they have to now work on a Fallout game, which is exciting because that means we might get something like a New Vegas 2.
Well, I was going to say, people, I would say community darling Fallout New Vegas is very exciting for many people. The premise of New Vegas I thought was very interesting. I thought New Vegas is a buggy disaster of a video game.
That's all true. All of those things are true.
Yes, those both. With an absolute obscene amount of patching. It's a much better game. It's pretty enjoyable at that point. But Obsidian, I'm not like the biggest Obsidian fan. I know they have a lot of fans and they do fine. It's just not really my cup of tea personally, generally with the stuff they make. But they've had their own projects, which have all kind of even felt a little like offshoots, the Outer Worlds and Avowed. And none of them landed in a way that seemed to matter. So
they're not well enough to really push the envelope, enough to get sequels, enough to keep the company going. But this is another thing that's worth being said here. When you are your own individual company, if they were just their own offshoot studio, which they were at one point, if you make enough profit to keep going, you keep going. And that's fine because the people who work there are getting paid. And that's what matters, is that they're able to keep going. They're able to keep getting paid. And you try a new project and you try a new project with the hopes that one of them becomes real big. When you are Microsoft, you are comparing every section of your business to the most profitable sections of your business. And what are Microsoft hoping? What has the most potential for the most income for Microsoft? The AI section. Let's just be honest. We are in the AI bubble. Every CEO is still like high on the AI bubble. This is going to bring us billions and billions of dollars. And then they look at every other section in the business, and then they look at the game section, which is just a small percentage of what they make. And they're going to go, well, we need to be making the same margins in this section of the business, whether it's reasonable or not. That's what they're going to try to do. And so when you compare those things, and a company like Obsidian is not making those margins, or Bethesda or any of these studios,
any of these studios,
then you start making changes because you want them to make more, and it just becomes unreasonable.
Right. And one thing that we brought up, I will allude to the other episode we've done this week of my other show, Tales of Tamriel from USP. One thing that we got into, which is something that you have, unfortunately, as a structural thing to most publicly traded businesses specifically, but it's sort of, in general, sometimes having something be successful, like we had just discussed, there's the situation of it's like, well, it's being compared to its other areas and stuff like that, which is entirely true. The other big problem, which you will definitely see when you have major corporations that are publicly traded on the stock market, is making money. And it's sort of the joke is like, how much is enough? The answer is nothing. Nothing is ever enough, because the point isn't making money. The point is growth.
Is making more money and more money and more money.
You need to have more money. So like, if you're not growing, because ESO, from some of the stuff I've seen, ESO seems to average about $15 million in revenue. Well, I was seeing per month from some of the stuff, which is, for many studios, that's unbelievable. Like, if you could make that much money, it's like, oh, we're flying high.
Yeah.
But if they're averaging that and that's just stagnant, that's not growth. So it's like, this is not improving our business. This is just sitting here stagnant. We might as well purge this off and try to put it into something that will grow and make more increasing revenue, not just a flat value.
Right. Yeah, and so that's part of their decision-making process. But here, let's get into some of the details here. How many people at each studio were affected? Well, we're starting to see some things that are being released by like government agencies, like
I was going to say it's sort of numbers that corporations can't really hide because they are required by state law to be reported.
Yeah. So ZeniMax Online Studios, which is ESO, and was also the side project MMO that got scrapped.
Yeah, Blackbird, I believe it was called.
Yes, and support for other studios. Oftentimes, the people from ZeniMax have been pulled off in order to work and support other things. But
there were people at some point. ZeniMax helped with some of the itemization for Fallout 76 was one that I remember, because they were kind of mixing the MMO single player thing. So it's like they all kind of help each other out.
Right. People have experience on one thing. They'll be useful to help over here. So they get pulled off anyway. The number of people at ZeniMax Online Studios who have been confirmed so far, as of our recording right now, is 213 people let go. 213. Now, I did as much research as I could about this. I don't know the total numbers of employees is not published anywhere. At some point, it may have been higher than this, but the current estimate I can find is around 300 employees, which means 71% of their staff was let go.
Yeah.
70. Imagine that's at least 2 out of 3 people. So imagine you walk through the office that you work at, or you're in a big meeting where like everybody gets pulled into one big meeting, and 2 of the 3 people next to you that are normally sitting there,
1/3 of you get to stay in your job.
Right. Can you imagine what that feels like? Well, that's what they're going through right now. ZeniMax Media, 166. This is more the corporate side. Were let go. BGS, so Bethesda Game Studios Austin, which is primarily Fallout 76, 22 people were let go. BGS other than that, including the Rockville location, the Bethesda, Maryland location.
The one that people always say, it's like, oh, well, it's not the Elder Scrolls or Fallout or Starfield team. This is them. This is Bethesda Game Studios.
Yes. Around 70 across these other studios. People have been let go. So that's what's happening here. Now, who specifically was affected? Well, we've mentioned Gina and Finn, who are more public facing members of ZOS. Like, we need to do them some respect, because Gina has been great to us over the years. Finn's an awesome guy. I've loved, watching him explain the new trials and meeting him in person and all of this stuff. Well, Gina posted on Reddit, and this is what she said under the Zos Gina Bruno account, which probably isn't going to be hers very much longer.
Yeah, for sure.
She wrote, "Oh, look, I still have my account here." This is like 2 days ago when she wrote this. "Though I should probably rename it and get that flare removed, eh? I cannot thank everyone enough for the heartfelt messages, both direct and indirect. I do a lot of lurking on other sites. I've read so many posts about how ESO has changed lives, or how folks have found their best friends or significant others through the community we built up, or even just about the joy and fun we built in Tamriel. With tears in my red puffy eyes, I can confidently say I wouldn't trade the past 18 years for anything, and I leave feeling proud about what I and the entire dev team learned and accomplished. It's going to be hard to fill the hole in my heart by knowing I had the privilege to make some sort of impact on others. That's invaluable and such a special, unique life opportunity. While I don't want to speak on behalf of the dev team, and I guess I don't have that job anymore regardless, I'm going to use this space to let you know that those that were affected yesterday have also been reading your posts, and I know it's filled them with love to know that what they created made a difference. Everyone cared so much about this game and its community. Don't ever forget Natchpotes." So these are some of the goofs that have happened over the years.
Yeah, she's got a lot of jokes that have lingered on the internet for a decade at this point.
Right.
Of how long this game has been running.
Natchpotes, or all the soon memes, or the emoji of my crazy face holding a weapon. I still have no idea where that originated from. Or pouring too much spice mixture during our cooking stream, or shaving Finn's face for charity. Man, these were great. There are endless memories I hold dear, and I will miss it so damn much. Much love to you all, and thank you for the opportunity and trust to be your voice for so many years. So a wonderful post to her and from her. And thank you again, Gina, for all your work over the years. And then Finn posted this on Blue Sky again a few days ago. "Hey, folks, I've been impacted by these layoffs." This was like his first post. "For nearly 15 years, Zos has been my home. I've had a hand in every dungeon, arena, trial, event zone, challenge, difficulty, etc. in my time here. But my best accomplishment is mentoring these kick-ass designers that delivered so much joy to folks." So again, our hearts go out to you guys. We hope that.
Yes, there's actually so many of these, we can't really cover them all.
Yes.
Because there's so many. Obviously, as we went through this, would be a 19-hour show of us reading off everybody that we even just probably have had interactions with and know personally.
Right. Right. But they're not the only people who were hit. It wasn't just ESO. Like we said, It was the mainline VGS office, including some people who have been there a long time while they are still working on Elder Scrolls 6 and being mandated by Microsoft to push games out faster.
Yes,
and so we
including get Elder Scrolls 6 out the door. Also, you're fired.
Right. Yeah. And so we have people like, I don't know how to pronounce her first name. It's Christine, maybe it's Christiane.
I believe it's just Christine, but I've never heard them actually say it.
Yeah, Christine Meister, who was a senior character artist who had been with Bethesda for 27 years. Her career at the studio spanned the development of major titles from Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. This is how far back in time we're going. Through Skyrim and beyond to the other games that they've made more recently. She is widely credited for her work on creature and character assets, including the iconic designs of the Argonian and Khajiit races, as well as horses in the Elder Scrolls series and Fallout creatures across those games. So, iconic member of the team who has created things that we all love and enjoy for 27 years. Gone. But like Lotus and I were talking, it's not just the senior staff and the people who've been there a long time who are let go. It's people like Stephanie Zachariadis, maybe? Again, names are not my thing.
Zachariadis. Yes.
Stephanie was hired from working on Fallout London, which was that huge
essentially a total conversion mod.
Total conversion. That's the word I couldn't come up with for Fallout 4, which was roughly the size of Fallout 4. I mean, it was pretty big, right?
Yes.
What did Stephanie Zacardis work on? Well, if we look at her LinkedIn post, we can see that she was a quest designer for Bethesda Game Studios, BGS, that she started in 2021. She had been there for 5 years, and she originally started on Fallout 76 back in 2021. She worked on The Pit, Atlantic City, the Player Ghoul, as well as a number of minor updates. She worked with writers and designers to overcome for overarching storyline stuff that span different things. She wrote and executed on numerous quests, wrote and implemented a number of beloved NPCs like Black-Eyed Susan and Billy Belt Buckles. She worked with the toolkits and the creation engine. Like, it just goes on and on and on. She's touched so many different elements of this company in her shorter time, and she was let go as well. Yep. So this is the, I don't know, the current landscape, and I'm hoping that I'm describing it well enough for kind of put people, in their shoes, if possible, to understand what this might be like to be either them or the people that worked with them.
And it's to also kind of show that this is really not about them not thinking it's not a skill or talent issue that is having people removed, which seems to be a bit of, not even a bit of misconception. It's a massive misconception, it seems like, where people are like, oh, well, they're taking too long to make the next Elder Scrolls game. Got to overhaul it. Like, these guys are dragging their feet. They're milking this. Or, the comments for going on year 13 at this point. Oh, isn't ESO a dead game? Yes. 13 years later, it's still a dead game. I get it. Like, okay.
It started, it sucked. It still sucks. Of course. That's why they're still making it. Same story for Fallout 76. Yeah, it started rough.
Correct.
ESO started rough. They made it better.
Without a doubt.
It got better, guys.
Yes. But
Catch up.
But the thing is here, it's just like, some people have just been insisting on this narrative, and that's whatever. But the thing is, like, this is not necessarily, this is not showing that it's trying to correct a problem of these people aren't doing the design things we want. It's we're spending too much money and not getting enough back quick enough.
Right.
So it's irrelevant who, we just need to cut the cost.
Yes.
And the only part of the who is, the point you made earlier, it's we need a bit of diversity in who we're letting go to justify letting go the people who make the most money.
Right. Now, I went through something, personal story real quick. I used to work for a national distribution company. I worked in the packaging side of the company. I used to this is my previous life. I did packaging design, like CAD designs for boxes and foam and plastic and all of that kind of thing. I ended up working with a distribution company at a younger age than most of the people and everyone else in my position. I was moving up the ladder pretty quickly. I was the design specialist. I was the person who went with the sales reps and talked to the CEOs of companies in order to solve their packaging problems and then send the designs through people who used to do my job. And I would manage those projects. This was a very high-paying position. It was a major international multi-billion-dollar company. It went through a merger with another multi-billion-dollar company. And the people on the other side of the company, the new people who came from the other side of the company, ended up in charge of the design team side of the company, which I was a part of. That other company did not have any design specialists. They didn't know what we were doing. They had no idea why we were valuable or why we made so much money. And so they let all of us go except for one guy. There were 13 of us. One of them stayed. Kind of a funny number, 13. But that seems unlucky. But they gutted all of us. All of everyone else in my position who had similar positions in different parts of the country had previously been like general managers for actual packaging, like factories and things like this. They were very experienced, very well paid, very good at what they did, right? I remember sitting down with the guy who would have been my new boss for an interview to basically see if I should stay with the company. And one of the questions he gave me was, well, give me an example of where you have a personal connection to maintain a multi-million-dollar account with any of our customers. And I was like, that's not my job. I was like, that's never been my job. And if I was doing that job, I wouldn't have been doing the job that I should have been doing, which was the wrong answer because the only guy they kept from our position happened to be somebody who was previously a general manager at a position at another company that maintained a contact that made millions of dollars for the company. So he got to stay. And it didn't matter that it didn't make any sense. It didn't matter that it would have been ridiculous for me to have that because that wasn't what my job was.
Yeah.
They let all of us go. And this is a very similar situation to that. It didn't matter that I got like A+ reviews and bonuses year over year. It didn't matter how good I was at it. We all were let go because the company needed to save money and they didn't understand why we were valuable. And this is the same kind of thing that happens here. This is the same exact kind of thing. But the question that remains, Lotus, that we really need to cover here before we talk too much about this, because these are most of the details. You can go look up more stuff online. There's a lot of other things that are being shared. But what does this mean for the future of Elder Scrolls? And let's take this piece by piece. What does this mean for the future of Elder Scrolls Online? What do you think?
We're all doomed. No, I'm just kidding.
It's going down. It might be. I mean,
well, well, we don't know. It definitely raises some major concerns, because the idea, as we had actually had in a more positive light prior to this, we had the episode on them mentioning with Asha saying that she wanted to have more entries in these series. And we had spun off and we had our fun Patreon episode talking about all the creative things that they could do and stuff like that, which was a positive spin to the scenario.
Right.
Instead, what we have now, after so many people are now gone, we have, okay, it's all hands on deck to get this thing out and start probably working on these projects. But now you are all shorthanded as a result compared to finding people projects.
Right. So let's talk ESO specifically. They are
ESO,
down to 29% of their staff. What can they've made a lot of updates recently. It seemed like they were righting the ship. They were revising character classes.
Reviews. People were pretty high on it. The last couple of events have been great. Patches have actually been pretty smooth.
Yeah. A lot of stuff has become less predatory. They've been giving more things for free out, including crates and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Rewards for quests.
Without a doubt.
All of this stuff. While they've continued to add, they've got a new trial coming. They've got ships coming. They've got new
Thieves Guild
stuff that came out today.
New Thieves Guild storyline comes out today. Yeah. Literally today.
So they've been doing a lot of stuff, but I think you and I both can agree that pace cannot keep up with only 29% of the staff left.
And they have publicly mentioned that a lot of the stuff on the roadmap is, already pretty far along. So this will probably be fine. We will see what was already on track and kind of presented. It might maybe be a little off time schedule wise.
Well, the season one video came out recently, or in fact today, I think, and it still listed the dates for when some of the other stuff is going to roll out. So it feels like that stuff is ready or ready enough for them to guarantee the date.
So I think the goal is that this is on track. However, Jess Folsom, who is I believe senior community manager, she had mentioned, along with, I've seen some of the other people, and it's been mentioned in our creator Discord, that it's like they still need to now assess what they do after what has already been essentially worked on is released, because clearly the pipeline has to change because they're missing 71% of the staff they thought was working on this stuff before.
Right.
So going down, and we're not really at liberty to say, but some of the stuff we know of coming in future seasons that has just been discussed is clearly going to get altered in timeline wise because of this.
Right.
I totally believe that we're going to see a decent amount of what has, obviously, I do think they are going to follow through with the current layout season that they just talked about. And some of the things that have probably been being finalized and worked on in the background, most likely stuff like cross-play, cross-save, which has become like a thing that's been pretty notable that they're working on. I do think we're going to be seeing that. This is entirely, my speculation. This is the direction you take something when you are looking to go with a little more of just having something be on autopilot.
Yeah, this is a sunsetting. This is
a maintenance mode move.
Right. Yeah, this is we know that we have a certain core audience that's going to just keep playing the game no matter what, and they may dwindle over the years, but we can put it in maintenance mode and we can still make a majority of the money that we've been making and continue to make it for a little while without as much investment. And that seems to be the play here. I agree.
That is, yes, 100%. And I had mentioned that on Tales as well. I think this is kind of showing that they are not done with ESO, but I think they are nearing the end of what I would consider active development on ESO, unfortunately. And I hate to say that that's the case, but I think the goal here, as Elder Scrolls 6 is still noted to be a couple years off in a recent thing that had come out.
Jason Schreier,
to be believed.
I saw some clarity on this. Jason Schreier, who's usually pretty accurate with this stuff,
usually pretty on point,
said, and I think the actual quote came out on the podcast where somebody said something about Elder Scrolls 6 coming out this year, and he laughed, and originally was quoted as saying it'll be 2 or 3 years. The real statement was more like, haha, not likely, maybe not even likely for next year. So
correct.
It's something like that, but
something along the lines of like, yes.
But that is not him saying, I have inside knowledge. This is what's going on. That's just his gut.
This is just not as far along as people keep saying that it is.
Right. And it seems to be his gut feeling. He's not citing anything
correct.
specific.
And his gut feeling, as I joke, constantly matches with mine. I am way, way less optimistic that it's coming out anytime in the near future. But that being said, I think the goal here is to keep a relevance to the name Elder Scrolls with ESO until we get Elder Scrolls 6. And I think that will probably be the official sunset of Elder Scrolls Online.
Well, we have seen in games like Lord of the Rings Online. Lord of the Rings Online started in it came out in 2007 and has been traded from one development team to another development team like twice now or 3 times, and still limps along. They still get updates every other year or so, and their staff is something like 30 to 40 people.
And that's the thing, is a game can be in maintenance mode, or like, sunset is a little more final, where you have like an end in sight.
Right, like we're turning the servers off. Right.
Correct. Yeah. But like maintenance mode is mostly what I think they're planning to do with Elder Scrolls Online. Yeah. I just think the active development of new stuff, other than the occasional quality of life fix or bug fix or whatever, is probably going to cease, if I were to guess, based on what they've done to the studio.
Or it will be highly reduced and just will roll out less often.
Like, hey, you get like what is considered like one of the Q1 like updates that we get 4 of a year.
Right.
That's the most you're going to get for like an entire year.
For a year. Yeah, you get one of those a year. Yeah.
You get one of those a year. Exactly. So like that's what I think the direction is going in, so that they still have something that has Elder Scrolls branding and notable something to keep things going until we start getting other Elder Scrolls projects, specifically Elder Scrolls 6, of course. But I do think they're going to try to, I don't want to use the term puke out other stuff, but with the way that they've been doing stuff recently,
we'll see.
Puke out other stuff.
Okay, so
Elder Scrolls.
Let's transition. You mentioned Elder Scrolls 6. What do you think whether it's a year, 2, 3 years from now, what do you think will be the fallout from this, for lack of a better phrase? How will this affect Elder Scrolls 6 specifically?
One thing, despite, the polarizing results of Starfield was pretty well and polished overall. Like all these games have goofy stuff, but that's part of being a wacky open world type of thing. And some of it's endearing. Right. But I don't think anybody would say that was not the most polished Bethesda open world game that's come out.
Yeah, on release. Right, yes.
Yeah, on release, correct. Yes. I wouldn't hold your breath for that being the Elder Scrolls 6 anymore. I think this will get to a point where they will say good enough and they will kick it out the door.
Yeah, I've heard that some of the staff that was let go, in fact, a large percentage of the staff,
a bunch
was
of QA was actually, yes, you are correct. A bunch of people were listed as QA. Now, I think I saw 12 different names.
Now, let me devil's advocate that, right? Like on the one hand, that's okay. Well, they're not going to QA as hard. We might get something that's more buggy on release. On the flip side of that, we definitely know that in order to get Starfield out the door, Todd Howard himself said that they pulled QA from other Microsoft studios and projects in order to work specifically on Starfield to get it out. So I don't know if that's going to be the plan because, like we've talked about, some of these other studios have been pretty gutted. But if those studios have maintained their QA staff and that becomes kind of this mobile
is that
group,
all they kept them for? Right. Did they keep them just to make QA for this?
Right. And I could imagine a situation where let's say there's 20 QA staff who just shift from, okay, here's a project that's going out the door in the next 6 months. They work on that one. And they're like, okay, what's the next project after that? And then they work on that, regardless of which studio was making it. I could imagine something like that happening.
Yeah, I could see that without a doubt. But I feel like as a result of kind of what we've seen is definitely going to be this needs to now be priority to get this out the door. No more with this, like this has to go. And once it's good enough, it's going out the door. Once it's good enough. No, I don't think they're going to drop something like a situation where we had like Cyberpunk on last gen console type of thing by any means. I don't mean like
where
that.
You get in a car and you just T-pose on top of the car.
Correct. Like I don't think we're going to get that type of thing, but I definitely think it's going to be, okay, it's good enough. Send that baby out there. Maybe more of a Fallout 76 thing.
Oh, geez. That's still not good though. Yeah. Like that was way too early.
That was way too early. It was about 8 months too early.
If it released in like the Skyrim state and then they continue to patch it, that at least was playable, it wasn't perfect,
Skyrim,
but it was
maybe
pretty
not
good.
The PS3 version at launch, but the 360 and PC version at least.
Right, but that's also how, that's been par for the course with Bethesda, is that the Xbox and PC versions have always been more functional than the PlayStation versions. So.
But yeah, so that is unfortunately my thought with that. Or and I guess it's not necessarily an or, it's an and/or. and/or this is going to turn into Crunch Central.
Yes, that I'm sure that I have a feeling that that's unavoidable at this point.
Yeah, which is obnoxious. It's just poor management is not a reason to crunch people into horrible health conditions because they overwork themselves.
Like,
that's a failure of management.
That's a fair point. Also, a failure of management is making sure that you have the right number of employees and that you haven't overpurchased or overspent and now have to get rid of most of your staff, right? Like that's also failure.
This entire thing is not a failure of development. It is all a failure of management. Like maybe barring one or two odd employees, it's like, oh, no, this dude's dead weight, doesn't do anything. Sure, you obviously have those people floating around too, but this is just management failure on management failure on management failure. And unfortunately, upper management likes to say they're taking full responsibility for things to then not actually take any responsibility for anything. And they just lay off a bunch of people because it's like, well, I don't need to pay for that. No, that's not. Yeah. I might be bad, but I quickly pad my golden parachute more before I actually get out of here. It's like that's
right.
That's the problem here. So yeah, that's sort of unfortunately the moderately bleak thing that I see on the horizon as a result of this.
Yeah. So good thoughts. Here's my thought on the thing that concerns me most about this and the way that this has gone about is not just that it is terrible. It is terrible to just fire all these people. Again, I went through it. I've been on both sides of this. Both sides are bad. And I think that's part of the problem is that if we look at, I keep forgetting her last name, Asha, the president.
Oh, Asha Sharma.
Sharma. Her track record is that she worked for Porch Group, Meta, Facebook, I mentioned this earlier, Instacart,
and then Microsoft. I feel like a really good point.
Microsoft Core AI, right? None of these companies are game companies. And most of the time that's okay. They're tech companies. These are tech companies. She's a tech company VP or president in this case. Like she's moved up the list, COO at one point, all of this stuff. That is fine. That makes sense from their perspective and the way they see the world. Oh, she's good at making these big decisions for tech companies that help them make them more profits and whatever. Great. That makes sense, right? When you're looking at just profits. But the thing that these companies don't have in common with game studios is that none of these products are art. Video games, we can debate this till the cows come home, but in my opinion, video games are art. Movies are art. TV shows are art. Music is art. Anything that requires talent in order to create is a form of art. It's not something you can just stencil and manufacture in a factory. It's something that you have to take human inspiration and put into a product with inspiration and care and love in order to create something that other people will care just as much about. And when you take away that inspiration, when you kill the morale of the people working on these products, the products suffer. And that's true for all products. But when you're manufacturing, say, a car using a bunch of automated car assembly things, then for the most part, you still can make a car. The car doesn't need to feel inspired.
It's to be only a product.
It's designed to be, if you make this chair that I'm sitting in,
tool.
Right. I guarantee you the majority of people who helped assemble this chair were not inspired. But the chair, I can still sit in it. It still works.
The chair is a tool for you to sit in. A video game is technically, I guess, a tool to have fun with, but the idea is to have an experience with it as well as make money and blah, blah, blah.
Right. You don't get a game like Skyrim without a studio who believes in the thing they're making. Yes. And the problem with doing this kind of restructuring is it kills the morale. And then on top of it, to mandate that a studio like Obsidian has to work on Fallout, whether they want to or not. And now you have a bunch of people who go to work grumpy every day because they don't get to choose what they're doing. And that is a problem. And what this becomes is, well, most of Elder Scrolls 6 is done. So maybe there's some polish and some QA that still has to happen and it gets out the door and hopefully it's good still. But what else are these teams working on? Who's going to be sore about them canceling the projects that they just spent years working on? Who of these people, like I mentioned earlier, is going to want to stay if they're not inspired to work there anymore? You lose all of that talent. You lose all of that inspiration. You kill the morale. And then, regardless of any intentions to make more games or maybe do spin-off games in other styles, like we talked about before, it doesn't matter, because if the people making them don't care and just want to go home at the end of the day, and they don't want to put extra effort or time or care into it, then we're going to get garbage.
Yes. And unfortunately, this leads into another thing, which I'm almost sick of talking about in general, is just the fact that her background also does involve, and Microsoft really loves the idea of AI. I know she's made some statements about like, oh, well, we need to not have Copilot in this. And it's like, that's a great statement. I don't believe you. I literally don't believe you. I think you're lying. But if they could then crunch people to the point of like, well, if you use AI, it'll go quicker.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure a lot of the staff. So it would be, I don't know that. Okay, let me back up. I don't think Bethesda Game Studios is writing dialogue that has been created by Copilot or ChatGPT or something like that. But I firmly believe that those people in those positions have been incentivized to use AI to do things like organize their schedules or craft emails to each other or organize spreadsheets or move data around or these other things. So maybe they're not using AI to create like graphics for something, but they're probably using AI to innovate graphic ideas that they then make manually.
I think some of the problem of is I think that the goal might be to down the line utilize these
make that things even bigger and bigger. Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. So I would imagine that that's part of it, but like that gets into the whole AI bubble too, which becomes a much bigger conversation. And who even knows? 3-6 months from now, that could be a completely different conversation, depending on the way that, I don't know, oil, gas, energy, the trading, stocks, and all of that stuff, government policy, all of these things are going to affect that in the long run. But I think to your point, Lotus, that right now Microsoft is going, this is the future, and so we have to use this.
Yes. So, people are only starting to now realize that this is a stupid future when you try to put it in everything.
Yeah. Now, some businesses are starting to notice, before you go, real quick, just to add on to that, some businesses are starting to notice that it costs them more to use the AI tools than to pay the people who the AI tools replaced.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And this isn't even meant to be like an anti-AI thing. I mean, I have plenty of problems with AI, but I have problems with AI used for things it should not be used for, is the problem.
Right. Every tool has a good use case. It's just
100%.
Some of them
and
not
it's
so much.
Just, the problem is everybody for some reason thinks this recent AI gimmick is the solution to literally everything in life, which is idiotic.
Yeah. When you say everyone, it's not the people like us on the internet. It's oftentimes the CEOs of these companies who are
I mean the corporate overlords is literally who I mean.
Right. So let's summarize a little bit because we're getting close to the end here.
Yeah, for
Elder Scrolls 6 probably going to crunch. The team seems very disheartened. In fact, teams at BGS Studios and at ZOS put up little memorials for the people who were let go, and then management told them they had to take them down.
Yep.
And I'm not sure who in management made that decision, but someone in management made that decision.
They did, and there's been a lot of things with people photoing out and posting like the quote unquote graveyard photos of like what the office looks like now. And it's like
empty
that's
desks.
rough, especially because they still had people remote, and it even is depressing. Like when it's just like, yeah, these are just the people in the office that aren't even here anymore. It's not even like the fact that we're accounting for our friends that we don't see on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So
rough.
All right. So Elder Scrolls 6 most likely will still come out sometime in the next few years. It'll probably be rushed. It'll probably be crunched a little bit. It'll probably lose a certain amount of morale from the team that's working on it. But chances are that will still happen. Elder Scrolls Online is still going to be there. Yeah, I logged in today. You can still do the new things that you can play in the game today.
It's having a very... Now, this is sort of just tangentially my anecdotal experience of seeing it and a bunch of people posting stuff that I've seen and has been sent to me. It does sort of comically seem to be running into the Destiny effect because, like I said, this is an industry problem that is happening everywhere right now. Sony's blundering it up on their side as well. And Bungie duffed with the end of Destiny 2.
Oh, man.
And their Steam numbers, which is notably their smallest platform, has been at all-time highs.
Right. People want to get in. Well, first of all, the news reminds them that it exists. And then secondly, they want to get in before it's gone to at least play a little more. Yeah.
And for the new stuff in the Elder Scrolls Online with the Thieves Guild, some of the photos I've seen from people like getting into instances, it's like hundreds of people long because the instances are so jammed, they're causing problems.
Right.
And
the new Thieves Guild thing they all queued up in a line.
Yes. Yeah. Because people couldn't get into the instance because the instance was so overloaded with the amount of players trying to do it.
Right. But also, what does that tell you about the community that they actually got in line? They didn't mass in a big squad. They just got in a line.
This is what I'm saying. Like,
it's amazing.
It's unbelievable. Like, that these are considered the failed projects. Things where literally queues are forming an organization in order for people to do the quest because there's so many people in these things that they can't even make them run. But, that's considered what's not good enough. It's just like, man, it's that perspective is just, it's very hard for me to comprehend when stuff like that is considered like, it's not popular enough. It's like, when is enough for people? And the answer for corporations is never. But hard for me to not have things that seems good enough. Like,
right. So outside of Elder Scrolls 6 and Elder Scrolls Online, I think we will probably see some new projects greenlit that are either spin-off games of some sort. Somebody like Obsidian being tasked with doing another working on Elder Scrolls something else that's not 7, but like something to come out after 6 that's still single player. I think that could happen. I think we could see spin-off titles that are other types of games, like we discussed in the patron chat recently. I think all of that stuff is possible. My concerns are that they will be made by people who just are there to collect their check and try not to get fired. Like,
that's my problem, is the people who will make them will not be the people who want to make them.
Right. They might be extremely talented people, but they might also just be doing it because they haven't found something better to do.
And also something I feel is worth noting, because I have kind of seen that on the internet too, and I feel like this is a point worth actually drawing attention to. Oftentimes, game devs are not fantasy worlds where you get to just only work on things that you're passionate about. A lot of it is just doing, like, I did QA before, like when I was younger type of thing, before beta used to be a selling point to pre-orders, when betas were actually like beta tests that you did to test beta products.
They weren't just demos. Yeah.
Yes, they weren't just glorified demos. Yeah, I had fun with it because it was like, oh man, I'm getting paid to play video games. Played is big quotation marks if you're like a QA tester. You're doing the same thing over and over trying to break it.
Right.
And then when you do, you now need to replicate it ad nauseum to figure out the solution to it. So it's not like in game development, you don't have things that you just do for work. The thing is, you just want to be passionate about what you are working on is sort of, I think, what makes the difference.
Yeah. So I think that's where we are with that. And I think those are all of our major concerns. There are some more things going on. There are some more details around the individual parts of the other studios.
Yeah. And
which studios were sold off. Yeah. And you're right. And like this week, I put out that Fallout episode about this yesterday, and even in the last day, there's more information that's come out.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is already a pretty, I wouldn't say different take. It's actually pretty much the same take as we have from the episode of Tales, but we're able to provide a little more hard data as opposed to initial observations of the situation.
Right. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. Jump on our Discord, comment on the episode, any of that stuff. Maybe there's some things that we're overlooking here. And I mean, I always want to enter into even the worst situations with some level of optimism while still being realistic about it. So fingers crossed that Elder Scrolls 6 is still good when it comes out.
As always, I hope in this scenario, I'm just too totally off base and this ends up being great.
Yeah. I mean, that might happen. It could happen. We don't know yet.
And sometimes it's like, it's nice when you're right about things. Like, okay, cool. I know what I'm talking about. But I will say that I was a little indifferent on the Bethesda acquisition. I wasn't opposed to it, but I was like, okay, cool. They have like a lot more funding. That could be a positive when Microsoft bought them. And I remember with the Activision Blizzard King thing, which I was like, well, I don't know about all of that. Like, it seems like a weird choice, but I liked the fact that it was like, well, okay, at least the culture at Microsoft will be better than Blizzard. And I mean, technically it was because people aren't just being harassed at work. So that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Would have preferred them to then not be laid off after not being harassed. That would be better all around.
Right.
But I think another big problem, and this is not an idea that I specifically came up with. I've heard this many times, and other places and pundits have brought this up. But the big thing about an acquisition so massive as Activision Blizzard King, it didn't move the needle for Microsoft at all in profit, really. It actually seemed like it dropped it. And suddenly they went from being this little, almost just background thing that is part of greater Microsoft to, okay, we just spent $70 billion. That's enough to have us now need to pay attention to what you're doing over there.
Right.
You're not this, which sounds ridiculous. You're not this $5 billion little splinter on the side of Microsoft. You're now like 8% of what we have. Well, you guys better start making a difference. And when it showed up that it wasn't, and you have things like Game Pass, just completely, just not even in the same stratosphere as projections.
Right, projections were double the number of.
It was over double, ridiculously off the mark.
It was something like 70 million accounts, and they're currently at 33 or something like that, right?
Their peak was 34. I had to look this up for Tales. Yeah. Their peak was 34. They are now down to 30 after their price hike. So they lost around 4 million subscribers.
Like 10%,
and their projection was 77 million by 2026. That's so far off base, it's actually kind of comical.
Right. Well, there's one more question before we wrap this up. There's one more thing that I don't feel like I have the answer to. I've seen a lot of people online posting things like, well, I've hung in there for this many years as a big fan of the series, but I'm throwing in the towel. I will not be purchasing Elder Scrolls 6. I will not be supporting them. I will not be playing ESO, whatever, because I disagree with the company. And traditionally, that I would recommend that. I would say if a company is doing something you do not agree with, the only tool you have to affect that company ultimately is your voting with $1. So do not spend your dollars. That's all they care about. So do not spend your dollars on something you do not support. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I
briefly did that with Blizzard until Microsoft was acquiring them. Right. Actually, I was super bummed out that I couldn't play. Well, not that I couldn't play. I didn't feel like I wanted to support them. So I resigned from, for quite a while, playing the Diablo 2 remastered thing. And I was just like, no, I just don't want to support this. And I eventually did and was pleased with Diablo 4 once it kind of shifted and they were getting bought out. And it's ironic that it was like, that was a plus to me that, well, Microsoft has them. I'm not morally opposed to Microsoft. I was morally opposed to how Blizzard was doing things. Right. I was like, okay, this is insane.
Right. But I guess the question here then to me is it smart to still do that with something like Elder Scrolls Online, understanding that it is already moving into maintenance mode? Would it be like, yes, you disagree with the firing of staff, but would it actually be more effective for people to do like some people are doing and log in and show them
and show your
we are
support
still
for the
here,
people there,
hire some of these people back or hire new people or whatever, and let's keep working on this because the fan base is still here and we still want to play this game. I totally get the first argument, and I've used that also argument myself. In fact, most of the time, if I disagree with a company, I've stopped buying things from Amazon, right? Because I don't like the fact that they're meddling in politics. Like, I don't agree with a lot of that stuff. But I also am concerned, right? Like, what happens if what could have been saved by people telling the company, no, we're still here and we want you to make more of this? Is that even possible? Is it even possible to turn them around by doing that? Because if everyone all of a sudden just stops playing ESO, that game goes away, period.
Right, because then they're like, well, it's literally worth nothing now.
So they just close it, right? Like the answer to that from their side is, look, we were right. Nobody wants to play it. And then they close the project. If instead double the number of people start logging in and saying, no, we want more, then are we able to prove that they were wrong? And will they accept that? Or will they look at it and go, well, look, more people are playing now. We made a good decision. And then they learn the wrong lesson from it, right?
So that's what I was about to joke about. Oh. So I hate that this is going to be my answer. And I do apologize to everybody. I had joked before that I was like, I always try to be like optimistic to a degree, as long as it's still reasonably. I like to be reasonably
optimistic. Yes.
This is going to sound so bleak. Regardless of which thing you do in this scenario, and I totally can understand why you would do what you do, like whether you think playing more would help or playing less or resigning from it would help. They're not going to take away the right lesson no matter what you do.
Yeah, I think
because they're going to craft the narrative that they are right regardless.
Right.
Because CEOs are generally, it's
the whole thing where they're in a position where they have so much power and everyone else has catered to that, to get to their egos over the years, that it's the George Lucas thing, right? Like there's nobody standing there anymore that can tell them that their own stuff stinks, for lack of having to give this an explicit rating.
Yeah, I know. I almost broke that multiple times.
Right. And that's just the nature of these things, is that people in high, powerful positions are never surrounded with anyone who keep their feet in reality. So it doesn't matter. I think you're right. And no matter what, they're going to take the wrong lesson from it. So I guess the recommendation is do what your gut tells you is right.
Do what you feel comfortable with, because at least you're doing it for the reasons that you want to do it for. Because I hate to say it, in a scenario like this, there is nothing they are going to learn, because they will just turn things around to make it seem like, cool, it works just as well now that we've let everybody go. So look, everybody signed in anyways, and it works just as well without all those people. So we did the right thing. Or, like you said, oh, nobody's playing anymore. So we did the right thing by gutting this. no matter what they will say, we'll use Asha in this specific situation, not that I know her or anything like that. She will say she did the right thing no matter what. There's nothing
right.
Until even she is removed from her position.
Even if she's the kind of executive who is self-aware, she'll never admit it publicly.
Absolutely.
Right. So yeah, because that would be a hindrance to her future career and how much money she's going to make, which is the motivation for everybody in those positions. Nobody takes on that much responsibility because their motivation isn't ego and money.
Yep.
Almost none of them. And the few people who end up in those positions who that wasn't their motivation often don't stay there very long. They kind of, they burn out.
Yep.
So
yay. One last bleak ending.
One last thing, let's end it on not such a bleak note.
I was going to say, let's end this on a positive because we actually did that for Tales too. There is a way to end this on a positive.
Okay, I've got an idea, but what's your idea?
So what we just did on Tales was just, no matter how unfortunate an end to a thing can be, it can't remove all the memories of the fun that you had with the thing. Mm-hmm. So even if this was in the most extreme way possible, we could take it to the utmost extreme. They just cancel the Scrolls. They're just entirely done with the series. It's all over total. That still doesn't take away the world that has been given to us and the great times we've had in it. And all the fun, whether it was solo adventures, whether it was RP, or whether it was the online components where you got to meet people and, some people got married and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nothing can ever remove those times, even if the end isn't the best.
Right. And from my perspective, I agree 100%. Also, from my perspective, we are still getting an Elder Scrolls 6. We will be getting other Elder Scrolls games.
It's coming no matter what.
It's coming no matter what.
We might not get another Scroll 7, but we're definitely getting a 6.
Right. And that hopefully is still good. Hopefully it's enjoyable. Hopefully they learn from the things they've done here and they continue to make better decisions in the future to support the staff that does remain. Hopefully that's the case. But in lieu of all of that, also, we're not going anywhere. Lotus and I are going to be here.
We have lots and lots of lore to cover, even if they never add more to it.
Right. So we're still going to do the show. We hope you still come and enjoy the show with us. We hope you continue to dig into the iceberg stuff that we've been going through recently. And when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, you bet it, we're going to be here talking about the details of those quests and things. Unless, and this is just the big unless, there's a bunch of other stuff that happens and like this ship really sinks and they're like, oh, they've been abusing employees and stuff like that. Right, and we're on some sort of moral ground of like, well, you know what? Absolutely. Like you could make the argument that firing lots of people is moral ground.
That's pretty morally reprehensible.
It is pretty morally reprehensible, but it also wasn't like, it's not Todd who decided to fire everyone, right? Like
correct. And yes, there are a million issues I currently have with how things are being handled just in gaming in general.
Right. And I want to continue to support the staff that does remain there, the people who have been working on it.
We do still have friends that are there.
Right.
That's something, it's just like, I want them to still have their living, and I hope that everybody that's no longer there has brand new, amazing, way better opportunities show up for them type of thing. But that's just it. It's just like, it's still on the horizon and there's still fun at the moment to be had with it and all the stuff to still explore, which is why we actually do the series we do.
Yep. And because we had kind of nuanced opinions about all of this, I'm going to prepare myself for the people who only watched like half of the episode and then gave crappy comments on the episode to be like, oh, I can't believe you guys said this. And I'm going to be like, you didn't watch the rest of it where we talked about the other side of it or whatever.
My personal favorites are when people take the nuanced argument and say both extremes that I apparently support when I actually support neither of them.
Right. Yeah. So no matter what, this is the danger with having nuanced arguments, right? Is that everybody gets upset at you and it's like, well,
it's fine. It's whatever.
Okay. Well, we got to go thank our patrons and wrap up the show and do the random UESP page. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast, dear child of cities. That is why the Night Mother loves you.
So if you'd like to help support the show and continue to be part of this, help us out. Jump onto Patreon, patreon.com/Elder Scrolls Lorecast, and you can join us for patron chats. You can get ad-free episodes. There's some other stuff on there. And welcome to our newest patrons, Brandon P. and Arvin K. Thank you for signing up and helping support the show. And also shout outs to our highest tier patrons, Kira C, Blinding Vision, Hercine, Peter R, and Mintaka. Thank you for your support as well.
You're amazing.
Also, if you'd like to help us out, if you've been getting into Elder Scrolls, if all this talk has gotten you back into it, you've been listening to the show and you want to help us out in other ways, then tell a friend, bring a friend along, or leave a 5-star review or a nice comment on Spotify, or join us on the Discord. There's lots of ways that you can be involved and help us out. But to wrap this up, our other stuff that we're doing, Lotus did an episode very similar to this on Tales of Tamriel recently.
Yep.
Go listen to that.
There are 2 episodes within 24 hours on Tales of Tamriel, if you're interested in that. So there's about 3.5 hours of podcasting over there, because we recorded an episode. And then when we released the episode, I believe it was 3 hours later, all of this happened. So then I got out of work, Ark got out of work, and we recorded a panic episode at 4 a.m. his time.
Wow.
Just so we could discuss everything. So, there's 2 episodes this week of Tales of Tamriel, which I apologize for the whiplash because, man, it went totally different vibes from the first episode of the week to the second episode of the week.
Yeah, well, there you go. Go check those out if you want. And also, I do the Fallout Lorecast, which I mentioned before. So if you want to hear how this is going to affect Fallout in a little more detail, go listen to the episode about that. That's up right now. But otherwise, there's like 400-something episodes of lore about Fallout. You can go listen to that. The Lord of the Rings Lorecast and Retro Recall, we've been going into old RPGs, and it's been a lot of fun to go back to games that inspired things like Elder Scrolls. So go check out those shows. You can find all of the shows we mentioned at robotsradio.net, including a bunch of other shows that are on the network, and I run the network. So if you'd like to join the network and be mentored in how to start a podcast and make it successful, all of that stuff, you can do so as part of the Rocket Club on robotsradio.net. So go check that out. But here is the random UESP page. This is like a little tiny one, Lotus. This one is from Elder Scrolls Online. It's a book titled Blue. I don't remember this one. I don't know if I ever came across this.
I don't either, because I was going to say, I feel like that name is notable enough because it's so generic.
Yeah, it's a note, so it's not really a book. It's a very short note, so it's not like a full book of it by any means. And it is found in
Eiffel 65. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke for old people.
It's found in Fisherman's Rest, and here's what it says. I can just read it. The sea is beautiful. I come here to get away from the depths of the woods, to smell the salty air, and to be free. Perhaps it's true that my father is Meomer. Perhaps. That's it. That's the note.
All right.
So there you go.
There we go.
I don't know who wrote it, but hopefully you still have your job. Oh man, that's real sad to say.
Oh, that's dark.
Oh, I'm sorry. But our condolences to everybody who's going through all of this again.
Yeah,
we really do appreciate all of you.
Once again, I hope this leads to better stuff for all of you, because so much talent has now been released into the gaming and just the job market. Let's put it that way. There's so much new talent in the job market as a result, looking for things.
Yeah. So good luck to all of you, and heck, reach out. Feel free to reach out if there's anything we can do, or just
if there's anything I could ever do to pay any of you back, I would happily do so if it's within my power.
Yep. Oh, and the other thing, the creator group for ESO is still continuing
it's still
on.
There now. I actually just got an update in my email literally right before the show.
Yep.
Because they're like, hey, we even still have our access to PlayStation. So FYI, I was like, oh, great. Cool.
Yeah.
So I still have stuff to give away to everybody on the PlayStation side of things.
Nice. So it seems like the Creator Club is going to continue, which means that we'll every so often we'll have some codes to put up places like on the Patreon. You can sign up as a free patron and you can try to get codes and things.
I was going to say you don't have to be a paying person to be involved with a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for this week. Thank you, everybody. And again, if you have feelings and things you want to share, jump in our Discord, share some thoughts. People are already talking about things a lot over the last few days. And have a wonderful week, and we'll be back next time. See you all later.
Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in to the Elder Scrolls Lorecast. Check out robotsradio.net for more podcasts just like this, and join us on the Robots Radio Discord. Be part of a community of over 5,000 people who are excited about video games and so much more. Robots Radio. Games, lore, stories, community. Just press play.